Hey everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit. Let me grab some cutters. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to do this evening. I'm still not quite sure. But one thing, there's a couple things that stick out to me looking at my animal box. One is some of these hippos have sick mouths that I don't want to waste. Two, I have a ton of giraffes, like a ton of giraffes, like so many giraffes, because I don't use them for anything. One thing I noticed is none of my animals are in a particularly interesting position, like they're pouncing. Get some more giraffes out. Damn. They're not interesting. They're boring. The poses don't look like they're springing into action. That guy's missing part of his tail. He should probably be in the scrap box. So I'm digging through here and I'm looking, and I have bought most of these things from wherever, and then some of them were donated. More giraffes. What is that? It's a bonky. I think they call those bonkies. So yeah, I have giraffes, I have hippos, I have bears, I have cats, I have different types of primates. More giraffes, more giraffes. But I want to make enemies that my party doesn't look at instantly, and I used a big one of this guy in another video recently. That position, that pose, could I make that kind of like he's pouncing? Okay, let's start with that guy. So anyways, I want to make interesting things. You know, I don't want to make boring things. I want things that my party's going to look at and go, oh no, what is this? And they try to guess how it works or what it does. But also, in my head, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about a game called Conan Exiles. There were these creatures, I think they were called Reavers. They were like big feline, pouncing, shadowy monsters. And I'd like to make something like that, but I have all these damn giraffes that I should make something out of too. I have a lot of good animals in here. Look at that moose. Moose. Look at that guy next to a miniature. That's actually probably in scale for how big moose are. They're ginormous. I've never been right next to one, but I've seen pictures. This is a small moose. And I guarantee you there's plenty more giraffes if we dig in here. All right, let's set our giraffes off to the side. Let's talk about the possibility of making a Reaver type creature. So the first thing I'd want to do is, this is probably my best about of a pounce body I have. So let's take that tail off, because I don't like the tail. And there's a little weird mold line thing I don't like there. And I don't want to use that head again because I just used it. But at the same time, I feel like I kind of have to use it because I don't have a lot of choices. So I've cut that out. I'm going to snip that down a little bit. And I'm going to come up the middle and make a snip on that. Actually, let me get a knife to do that. To make it like buck-toothed instead of having one big unitooth. Okay, something like that. We can use this. I don't really want to use the same sculpt again, but it's actually a pretty good sculpt. I do need a tail for it, and I want something that's kind of long and good. I don't want to cut apart something really nice to get a tail, though. Like, this cat's not bad. I could use that, so I don't want to cut his tail off. And I love this one. I don't want to cut his tail off. Oh, I like his face. Can I make his face go on his body? Oh, I can. I totally can make that work. Let's steal this dude's head and save it for another day. Hey, buddy, give me your head. I just need a little help here. Get yourself some Bacta. All right. Oh man, yeah, that's gonna do wonders. Man, I'm glad I heated up the glue gun. I came down here, I wasn't even sure if I was gonna make a video. Okay. Now, I want him pouncing, but I don't want his pose to be too boring. What I'm doing is I'm filling in those awkward gaps, and then I'm dragging the tip of the sharp edge of my glue gun back and forth through there to give it some fur-like texture, so it doesn't look completely out of place. So it doesn't look like a completely different piece. Now let's find a tail. And since we did cut that guy who I loved, we'll steal his tail too. Okay. And we're going to just a little bit of it. We're going to cut this tail just a little bit like this to get the right angle to attach it. Okay. Nice. All right. Oh, I do like this posture a lot better than the original pose that he had. And don't be afraid to cut stuff up and play with it a little bit, you know, especially some of this cheap stuff. Now, I am worried I don't have another one of these saber-toothed tigers to cut up, but that's okay. It's for a good cause, right? Man, do I like that. I don't think that's exciting enough, though. So let's get these pieces. I'm going to put that off to the side to go to the parts bin. I'm going to put those back in here for now. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these giraffes. We'll put them back in the giraffe bin here with the rest of the animals. All right. Oh, it's heavy. Sweet. So I really like that sculpt. I got my animals over there that got to get put in the bin. All right, so I do want this to be a little more exciting than a standard mini base. I do have some really horrible spider webs here, but I don't want to deal with those just yet. All right, let's just deal with the immediate little seams and stuff that we can't have on here, like the mold line. There we go. All right, that looks better. All right, let me get a base. This is what we call a standard endowment base. It's a chip from the Dollar Tree. It's a poker chip from $1.25 for a bunch of free, almost medium-sized bases. They're a little small. Will he fit? Will he fit? Snugly. But we can make that work. Let me see if those other chips are a little bigger. He would actually need a real 2-inch base, I'm guessing. That's actually a little smaller. All right, hold on. There's a solution. And I don't want to do it, but you know what? It's not that I don't want to do it. It's that I'm not going to do it. He would fit perfectly on a real 2-inch base, but I don't want to use a 2-inch base for a custom crappy mini that I'm throwing together just to make a new bad guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a piece of old board game. There's some board game board right there. I'm going to get that, and I'm going to get a marker. I'm going to draw a circle around that base, just like that. I know a lot of you guys aren't from the tri-state area where I live, but if you do happen to live in the Ohio Valley tri-state area, Pete's Tree Service, absolutely phenomenal. Very like down home, like regular human being. He's a veteran. He's a Marine reservist. He started his own business. He came here. He did work for me for a phenomenal rate. He did an amazing job. He cleaned up any mess he made and more. He left my area better than I left it in when I was done playing around back there. And my 7-year-old was out there talking his ear off to littlest doom. And he was patient and kind to the boy. You don't see it. So if you live in the Ohio Valley, in the tri-state area here, and you need some trees cut or some hedges dealt with or whatever it may be, reach out, because the dude is phenomenal. And I would invite this guy to dinner at my house. He was so professional yet kind. And when I told him my money situation, he was like, I can work with that, you know, and he did way more work than I paid for. You know, he knew what my kind of intention was long term, and he did extra. And I felt really good because I had already decided that I liked him so much I was going to give him a $50 tip. And when I gave him the tip, he was so gracious and just shocked. And I couldn't believe it because he deserved way more than $50 for a tip. I just didn't have more. And just phenomenal guy. very down to earth, very just kind. So I can't speak good enough about this dude. Let's get back to our terrifying creature here. So let's get some baking soda. This is baking soda from the Dollar Tree. This place where they sell stuff for $1.25, but they don't call it the $1.25 tree. And then I noticed they have stuff in there for like $3 and $5, and they don't call it the $3 and $5 tree. So I feel a little misled. I understand. It had to go to $1. Or $1.25. All right. Let's get that. This is the new minor burning hand spell. And let's just get some of those spider webs. Now there's a little area here with some like a molt injection point that I'm not super fond of. So I learned a cool trick yesterday. I'm going to get a wire brush. I'm going to heat that up a little bit with my new minor burning hand spell. And then I'm just going to kind of dig into him and rub that away. Okay. And it's not perfect, but it'll mesh in better. Now I need him to stick down on this base so I can paint him. And he is not wanting to. You bastard. Pardon my French. Okay. So, I'm not getting a good bond. I'm just going to come back and let it run down from the feet directly onto the base and hope it seals. And I'm also, where I have glue connections, going to drag a little bit of glue on there just to kind of solidify that. If you have disposable brushes, and by disposable, I mean something like this, that you can get a ton of these for $1, and just kind of rub that around. Make sure there's no big bubbles that won't dry quickly. Let me say something. Someone told me that I give off badass vibes. I am not a badass. I am a fairly large guy who used to be very muscular. Now I'm just fat. I'm only 5'9", a little bit less than that. But I used to work out a lot. I was in the Army, and I did a lot of mixed martial arts. And I am not an aggressive or violent person. I'm a regular dude who just wants to get by and have a good life and wants to see other people have a good life. I am not here to be the badass of the world or anything like that. And if I do ever on the videos give off badass vibes, feel free to check me in the comments, because I am not a badass. I am a dude in my basement playing with toys, okay? Not your traditional badass. Just a dude making toys in his basement. I don't think we need to do 2 videos on this. Honestly. Okay, we're pretty sturdy at this point. I'm going to just do this the most quick and generic way possible. Okay. Let me go over to my fan and my box here. I don't have a full paint booth set up just yet. I know, it's like way past time. When the Clan Doom moved into this house, the paint box was not in great shape, and or the paint booth was not in great shape. And then when I rearranged the shop here, it crumbled. It was like cardboard that had been spray painted on way too many times, and it was just done. being the stingy person that I am, who would rather spend my money on other things, I never rebuild it. And then I have all the parts to rebuild it with a new fan and everything, a new idea for a new filter system, everything, but just can't seem to get myself in the mood to do it. Don't really think that we needed to do this with the white, but it's always satisfying to see that little bit of effort you put in go a little further. Just like that. I just like the way that looks when I do that. And you can see a nubbling over there that I don't like. I'm just going to get in there and ruin that. Then I'm going to get my white paint back out and hit that area. All right, so we know we didn't need to paint it white, and I probably should paint it black again because of the situation being what it is, but I'm not going to. Let's get this thing going. Let's not make this an all-day project. Let's make it a fun project. So I'm going to get my favorite color in the entire world. And if you guess pavement, you're correct. And I'm going to get a kind of a good brush for coverage. I'm going to get my tip wet. And this is a giant size something brush. And I'm going to paint this dude all pavement. Try to come across as a shadowy and scary monster. I had a gentleman reach out to me. Him and another fellow want to do some labor for me. And I actually got recommended these guys by the dude who cut my tree, Pete's Tree Service. Yeah. So really, all around, it was just a phenomenal experience. But he said, yeah, I know some laborers that want to do work. I have some dirt I need moved from point A to point B. And it's probably not 2 people's worth of work. But you know what? If they can do it quick, they'll make $50 each in about an hour. So I don't mind helping them out. They're college kids. But the one of them was messaging me in a group chat with both of them. And he ended the message with, "God bless you." And I thought, he already has, but I appreciate it. I don't know much about God. For all the Bible reading I've done, the seminary time I had trying to learn about God, I don't know much about him, or her, or it. I don't even know what I believe. But I do believe that it's not harmful to have a positive outlook and some form of faith. So I am completely okay with these 2 young men coming at me like they did. I have that brush that I had the white in. I'm going to add a little bit of this pavement to that and see if I can't get something as my next step down for a dry brush. And we don't want much on here. So let's come back and see if we can catch a little bit of detail. Just something that's going to help us with undercoating more than anything else. And we're going to do one more brush over this. And actually, I don't know if I want to do one more brush over this. I think this is actually kind of what I was going for. Yeah, let's keep it here for now, kids. Don't you worry your ugly little heads. Sometimes you can do things with minimal effort and get amazing results. That's a fact. If anybody asks you where you heard that, make up some YouTube channel. That wasn't me. Because I don't know what I'm talking about. I got a tiny brush here. I'm going to get my white paint that I had out. I'm going to paint these eyes white. But I'm not filling in the entire dot. I want to intentionally make them a little smaller than the actual molded eye. I'm going to wipe a lot of that off. I'm going to come around and grab what little bit of teeth there are. And there's not much in the way of detail there. Okay. And then I'm going to come back with black and hit that nose, because I think that would look nice. Give me some black. Oh, too much black. And all I did was I painted it just around that natural shape and just made it even because the real nose was kind of wonky and dumb. Okay. Now I'm pretty happy. But I got my brush damp and I'm just getting a really thin amount of water. And I'm going to paint down, or up I should say, in these claw areas and darken that up a little bit. And I'm just drawing little lines straight up. I'm not doing anything spectacular. Just to show there's some nails there because the sculpt didn't really include a lot of nail action. Just something minor like that that's going to stand out a little bit. Nothing too crazy. All right. Now, as far as the teeth not having much to look at, that was kind of a problem. We're going to get some bright red, though. This is speed paint. For what I'm trying to do here, it's going to work better, I think. And I'm just going to get inside that mouth. Okay. And I'm just going to paint in there with that. And it's going to dry with a reddish tint. It's not going to be great because it's so dark in there, but it's going to give off the assumption that there's red in there, I think, when it dries. We'll see. We'll see. I could be wrong. And then for the eyes, let's do something really cool with these eyes. Okay. So, this color is called, where is it at? Nuclear Sunrise. Let's just get a tiny dab of that. All right, we'll let that sit for a second and kind of, I'm going to go around the eyes with that a little bit, just kind of make them a little different looking around them. Okay, then we're going to let that kind of sit for a second. We'll hot air gun it actually. And I'm trying to give off the image that these eyes let him see in the dark. They're like night vision. That's the image I'm going for, okay? Then I'm going to get a really tiny brush and that black paint. I got this tip very damp on my tongue. I'm going to drag that down. Then I'm just going to paint up a line on the... Oh, I missed. The center of the eyes. I'm pretty happy with that. It does look like a regular cat to an extent. I wish I had some spikes or something on there. I should have thought of that beforehand. Or a bigger mane maybe. I don't know. But it's, you know, it's a little bit late. So let's get that brush put away. I only clean those with my mouth. I don't ever put those in water if I can help it. Occasionally I forget though. And I do put them in water. Let's get something cheap. Deep brown, Dollar Tree, Desert Terrain. More of my fake painted desert look that I've fallen in love with. A damp brush. And let's get around the feet. I'm not touching the feet, and I touched the damn feet. As soon as I said that, we'll have to come back in there and try to clean that up. But we'll come back with a smaller brush and do around the feet. Okay. I had that blue brush. There it is. There's nothing on my brush, just water from me licking it. And I'm going to try to work that down and get that brown off my foot there. And yes, I'm eating paint because it is the fastest way to continuously empty this brush before that paint dries. And you see that? Got the paint off the back foot. Now I'm going to very carefully come around here and not get any more on my feet if I can help it, so I don't have to eat any more paint for y'all. I'm just getting that Dollar Tree paint, which I was hoping never to buy more of, but I did run out before I was done with my Wild West stuff, because this campaign is going on a lot longer than I anticipated. I will say this. When you play regular D&D, no matter what edition it is, it seems like there's a point where campaigns sputter out for most people. I've played in campaigns where that's happened, and I've run a few where that's happened. But unfortunately, if you play with the same people all the time, and they know how to build off each other, and they know how to build for the style of game you play, well, they don't sputter out as quick as you'd like them to sometimes. Like, I didn't want to do a Western campaign in the first place. I had to make a whole new system for Tomorrow Comes Doom based around the Old West. I had to rebalance magic and guns, and then I had to go back and look at the pre-existing systems to make sure nothing was going to break. Because my goal is to ultimately that all the Tomorrow Comes Doom games, you can play any class or any focus from any game in any world. Kind of like a GURPS kind of deal, but with a little less madness involved. For those of you who know what GURPS is. So, I think it's like generic universal role-playing system. I can't remember what it stands for. I played it before years ago. It was not well built. It was like if you wanted to follow the rules of the real world, like how physics work and stuff. One of my buddies, Jay, made a joke that it was a good primer for any of the entry-level physics classes at his university. And I thought that was funny. But anyways, maybe it wasn't. All right, so we have a good desert base coat there. We're going to get rid of this brush and clean it out and put it away. I think we're going to be around 30 minutes or so to get this thing banged out. So I'll check the timer when I come back. We're at about 27 minutes. We got to hurry. I didn't mean for it to go on this long. The madness continues. I'm getting a piece of old t-shirt, and I'm going to clean this brush out real quick. Get all that out of there and get a little bit of water. No, I did not clean it well, if we're going to be honest. So I got some khaki, and it's wet. I'm going to get in here and dab that around and create some variation for my mock painted desert scheme. I'm going to come back and grab a little bit more of that, and I'm going to dab it around. And I'm going to get a bunch more of that, and I'm going to dab it like that. Then we're going to air gun this while I clean this out, because my brush was full of dirty paint and I got it in my lid like a dumbass. Okay, that's pretty clean. I hope, I think, I wish. Let's shake this up and dry this. We're running out of time here, so the way I would run the Reaver or Reaper or whatever I'm going to call it, I don't know what I'm going to call it, is that maybe it'd be like kind of a displacer beast or a blink dog or some kind of shadow creature that kind of poops around, and maybe it has a % miss chance because it's not fully materialized from its shadow form. I think that'd be neat. And I think that's kind of what I'm leaning towards at this point. So yeah, basically, this creature has a shadow form where when it's moving, it kind of becomes incorporeal shadow. And then when it attacks, or when it's kind of goes stationary, it becomes corporeal, or should I say physical. So that's how I would run it. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon, leave comments, and all that stuff that helps the channel grow. Make lots of miniatures with this really generic painted desert on it. Check out the website, www.dungeon-swag.com. There's a discount code in the description, as well as a link to that in our Discord. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Meow.